Thank you, Matt.
Recording in progress.
All right, council, member of the community, welcome to the work session of the mayor and council. Today is Tuesday, March 11, 2025, and we're starting this meeting at 7:02. This meeting is being held via Zoom. For public comments during the meeting, you can still email info@brentwoodmd.gov. And before I continue, I just want to apologize because if at one point I lose my voice tonight, I will transfer to vice mayor. I have a terrible sore throat and I feel like I'm losing my voice. I just want to say that for the record. I will have Mr. Moran to call the roll.
Councilmember Sherry Burgess.
Present, ready to serve.
Councilmember Marcus Monroe.
Present.
Councilmember Lauren Rowe.
Present.
Vice Mayor Kiana Taylor.
Here.
Mayor Rocio Termino Lopez.
Present, thank you.
Town Administrator Shelley Dorsey.
Present.
Police Chief Marcus Jones.
Present.
Town Treasurer Shelley Dorsey.
Present.
Town Clerk Larry Moran, present. And lastly, Town Attorney Jason DeLoach.
Present.
Thank you, Larry. All right, I just need approval of the agenda with only one item to be removed, which is F, the Brentwood Police Department Taurus Interceptor repairs. And I think that's already been done, so.
Mayor, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I added that item because I don't recall us getting it approved, and so I wanted to get those repairs approved.
That was approved on the consent agenda.
It was in the consent agenda.
I know we approved the $2,000 for the purchase of the vehicle. I went back and looked at the video, and I did not see where we approved it.
Okay. All right. So I guess again, we probably will have to get a consensus on that then. Thank you. Any other item?
I can make the motion if we're ready.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. Just one other addition that was missed, and that is closure of the office for March 24th and 25th to relocate to the new town hall.
Okay. I move to approve the agenda of the council meeting on March 11, 2025 with the aforementioned edits.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Well, just a reminder that this is a work session. So, but still say, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Right, I'm just going to read the upcoming events. Sustainable Brentwood Committee meeting is Saturday, March 15 at 10 a.m. Mayor and Town Council meeting is Tuesday, March 18 at 7 p.m. Evolution of the Candle, that's Friday, March 28, 2025. This is going to be at Town Hall at 6 p.m. Brentwood Recertification for Sustainable Maryland is Tuesday, April 2nd. Citizen Advisory Committee will be Saturday, April 5th at 9 a.m. Brentwood Got Talent scheduled for Saturday, April 5th at 2 p.m. at Town Hall. Brentwood voter registration will be on Monday, April 7th. And time, I guess, will be determined. But let's see, Bartlett Park Charrette, Saturday, April 12th at Town Hall. Do we have a time for that?
We do. 1 to 3:30, I think, is what I submitted for that event.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Brentwood voter registration part 2 will be on Monday, April 14th. Earth Day cleanup with Anacostia Watershed Society is scheduled for Saturday, April 26th. Town of Brentwood municipal election is Monday, May 5th from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And we go all the way to Brentwood Day, Saturday, June 7th from 11 to 4 at Bartlett Park. All right, I will open the floor for public comments. And if you still want to submit a comment via email, it's at info@brentwoodmd.gov. And we're still getting if it's during the meeting. All right, with that being said, I would like to move to the next item, which is the presentation of mental wellness check-in program. Terry?
So it's the swearing in at the ethics committee member. It was added.
Oh, it was added. I'm looking at the old version then. Sorry. Okay. Just give me 1 second while I'll look for this form. So it's the other office for the ethics commissioner. So as you know that one of our members stepped down, and we have new member of the community willing to serve. And I have Miss Alexandra George Ruiz. Is she present?
I'm here, present.
Excellent. So I guess at this point, we're going to read the oath of office of Ethics Commissioner, and I will, and you will repeat after me. Please raise your right hand. Thank you. I, Alexandra George Ruiz.
I, Alexandra George Ruiz.
Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America.
And that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance.
And I will be faithful and be, what was the last one?
Bear true allegiance.
Bear true allegiance.
To the state of Maryland.
To the state of Maryland.
And support the constitutions and the law thereof.
I support the Constitution and the law of all.
Thereof.
Oh, thereof.
Yeah. And that I will.
And that I will.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
To the best of my skill and judgment.
I apologize for that. Without partiality or prejudice.
With partiality and, what was the last word?
Without partiality or prejudice.
Without partiality or prejudice.
Execute the office of Ethics Commissioner.
Execute the office of Ethics Commissioner.
Of the town of Brentwood.
Of the town of Brentwood.
According to the Constitution and laws of this state.
According to the Constitution and laws of the state.
Of taken at the town, well, this is be assumed, but from the town, Brentwood Town Hall of Maryland on this March 11, 2025.
Oh, should I repeat that too?
No, you don't have to. It's just reading what it is here. So I will need your signature and of course my signature and then the town clerk's signature.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for serving, and I welcome you to be one of our ethics commissioners. Okay. Next thing in the agenda is the presentation by Mental Wellness Check-in Program.
Yes, good evening, Mayor Tremino.
Good evening.
you hear
Thank you
me?
for coming. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council, Chief Jones. My name is Adrian Augustus. I know a few of you are familiar with me. I have been running the Hyattsville Police Department Mental Wellness Check-in Program in partnership with the Brentwood Police Department since 2021. Since I have about 10 minutes, I know you will probably have a lot of questions, so I won't go into the nitty-gritty details of the program, but just for the record, we started out the first year with requiring every member of both police departments to meet once a quarter, one-on-one in private sessions with mental health professionals. We have had tremendous success with this program. We've done surveys before and after each round. For the first year and a half or so, we scaled back so that people wouldn't undergo survey fatigue, but we have consistently had positive percentage numbers coming back with people saying that they are satisfied, that they are engaged, that they like the clinicians. We started out with 5 with one agency. We have now added a second agency with 3 more clinicians. And so folks have had variety with who they selected. There has been very little griping about participation. We've had a little bit of a challenge getting Brentwood in the groove since the wonderful now retired Chief Althoff agreed to join this program. We're now with Chief Jones, who is police chief number 4. So I'm looking forward to being able to continue this program and work with Chief Jones to make that happen. So with that said, unfortunately, the grant funding that has been funding this partnership with Hyattsville is winding down. And I know that it seems like the majority, if not everyone, is eager to find some way to continue this program for both departments. But with the ending of the funding comes the ending of the partnership. Now, I have been working as an independent contractor, continuing to run this program since, for about a year now. And so what I am trying to do is find funding that will support not just Brentwood and Hyattsville, but other agencies across the country to be able to start and or continue this program. I am now engaged with a private foundation called Arnold Ventures. It is a research and advocacy foundation. They love this program. They are eager to see a grant proposal. And so what I am proposing to Brentwood and to several other agencies in different parts of the country is the launch of a law enforcement mental wellness program, mental wellness check-in program, where we are looking at all of these agencies and their different with their different demographics, going through, starting out at least with 4 sessions a year, and being able to see trends over 3 to 5 years so that we can really look at not just if people are engaged, but looking for those metrics that really matter, the things that can cost municipalities money, the things that can cost somebody a career, the things that can challenge relationships between law enforcement and the community. So I understand that with each fiscal year, communities must once again revisit available funding. What I am proposing is that in order to be able to extend the length or the life of this program for Brentwood, that the council consider funding 4 sessions for FY26. But in partnering with me, hopefully under Arnold Ventures, their grant would not only cover the cost of me running the program and the partnership that I would have still with the University of Maryland in collecting the data, but that Arnold Ventures would then fund years 2, 3, and 4. In order to collect consistent data, that is what I see as the only way to ensure that municipalities can continue to participate. I understand that budgets every year fluctuate, and I'm sure that the organization will as well. So my proposal is to have several pods in different parts of the country because of your size and being able to collect data that would remain confidential. My goal is to have a few different smaller agencies in Prince George's County act as one pod. It would not require you all to do any MOUs or really have much engagement, except with the occasional Zoom meeting where perhaps I would ask multiple chiefs to meet with me at the same time. But it would simply be a way for us to collect data, have a larger research pool, if you will, and also allow these smaller municipalities to be able to have this program, because at the end of the day, it's about the program. It's not so much about conducting a research project. That's not how I designed it. I designed it to be a program that supports people's mental wellness, and that is what it has been doing. And so I would really like to be able to support Brentwood and continue to be able to operate this program for your officers. Oh, and I left out probably the biggest thing here because it is budget season. Chief Jones, I calculated at 8 participants. Are you budgeted for 8 at this time? Were we around 7 or 8?
1 second.
Sorry, I think I put you on the spot the last time we talked. 7.
It's 7 currently,
Okay.
but yeah, hopefully 8 here shortly.
Okay, so high number here. I calculated if we had 8 participants for 4 times in FY26, that would at $150 per session, which is a fair rate for Zoom sessions with clinicians. That would be $4,800. Now, I also always calculate in the cost of missed sessions. So this is a little bit high, but if we estimate 3 missed sessions per round, meaning let's say an officer had to be called out to address an issue on the street and they had to miss their session, well, there is a fee with that. So if we're assuming that the missed sessions are also at $150, that would be about $1,800. So on the high range for FY26, this would cost the town $6,600. But again, my goal is to be able to get this grant funding that would then cover the cost of the following 3 to 4 years so that the program can continue. Any questions?
Council?
So, well, no question, but mostly a comment. I thank Adrian for continuing to really forge ahead on this. And so she took the time to meet with Chief and I a few times now about this topic. And so, mostly my main comment is, hopefully the mayor and council would see it also equally important to try to find a way to support it. And, worst case scenario, we would have to put it in the budget, and best case scenario, the venture will be able to cover the cost of it.
And I'm asking the municipalities that participate to provide the funding for the first year to show their level of commitment in this, but still, I think, making the very fair request of Arnold Ventures to cover the additional costs, because as we can see right now, funding from the highest levels cannot be guaranteed from year to year. No questions from, I know a few of you are familiar with me, but there are some new council members or council members who are new to me. Any questions?
This one. This is Jerry. Thank you very much for your presentation and the good work.
Thank you.
In my day job, I sometimes have to go through fairly rigorous review anytime I'm collecting survey data that might have a name attached to it or data security or anything like that. So can you just tell me a little bit more about the survey itself and how that data is going to be secured?
Yes, so we will be using an external survey system, and I apologize, I cannot recall the name of it. It is one that is used by the University of Maryland. This is where the partnership with them will be coming in. The data will not be owned by the University of Maryland. I will actually be procuring that survey system, but it's the interns who will be helping to support the collection of the data to ensure that if names are attached to the data, it's scrubbed so that no one will ever know who said what, and it's simply a collection of numbers. That is essentially how we were doing it with Hyattsville and Brentwood, how we've been doing with Hyattsville and Brentwood, but we were using a Google platform. and the interns would go into the back end and they'd be able to pull the data and put it all together for me so that I could then analyze it and share it with others. The data will be public information. Arnold Ventures will not own it. I will not own it. So it will be available to everyone. We would be looking at data, releasing some data from round to round simply to ensure that the program is working for the groups, but more than likely we would not release everything until the very end, simply because we would not want early results to skew how people respond in later surveys.
That all makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. Just one more question, since you mentioned UMD College Park. Do you know if those interns had to submit to go through an internal review board process? That's something College Park would normally do for surveys. So
I don't believe they did. This was part of just their regular internship program.
okay.
And so I don't know if
Right.
how we were conducting the surveys were at the level where they would have had to go through that kind of a review.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone
Mayor?
else have a question? Yes, Vice Mayor.
So, I don't have a question, but I did want to say I know Adrian, and I am just to you, Adrian, I am so proud of you and the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Many people may not know, but I worked for the Brentwood Police Department and then transitioned to another police department, working in law enforcement for almost a decade. And I've always felt like there needed to be more extensive mental health care for police, just because of the nature of the job and things that they see every day. And so knowing that you are working to provide that for the officers so that they can be more cared for and fit when they're out taking care of the community is very important. And so I second Councilmember Monroe's sentiment, which is I look forward to us trying to find a way to incorporate this into our budget. Hopefully the funding will come through, but if not, I think that we can all agree that this is a very important work.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Taylor. It's nice to hear your voice. And I should add that the grant would also cover the cost of my services in continuing to operate the program.
Excellent. Anyone else? Questions? Nope. Like Vice Mayor said, I mean, we will try to look funding now that we are ready to start working on our budget for the next fiscal year. Thank you, Adrian. Good to see you again. So.
You too. I hope you feel better, and thank you everyone for having me.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the next item on the agenda will be the presentation by the University of Maryland in a different topic from public policy, and this is about the climate survey results.
So I guess I can kick off and then turn it over to Cam, who's here too. I'm Shauna Pearson-Merkowitz. I'm from the School of Public Policy, and I was the faculty member who oversaw the project with in connection with Lauren, who I think is here, from the I believe you guys call it the Green Team. And so I can give a little backdrop. I don't know how much everybody remembers about the project. Lauren and her team reached out to the University of Maryland last spring, almost just about a year ago, about the potential of doing a survey together of Brentwood. And that's something that I like to do with my students. So I engaged Cam, who's here today and who's going to present. And we spent the summer working with Lauren and her team to come up with what the survey would look like and how we would do it. And then in the fall, Cam and I and a team of about 60 students went door to door, knocking on doors and asking people to take the survey on tablets. And once we were done with a couple rounds of door knocking, if people weren't home, we left them with a QR code for them to respond to the survey. And Yeah, I think there was also for apartment dwellers, they put there was a QR code in the newsletter for people to fill it out. And so I believe that the report that we wrote from that with the survey results was distributed ahead of time. So if anybody has any questions, Cam or I are very happy to answer what we can. And I think Cam has prepared a little presentation of some of the key highlights if you guys would like him to go over that.
Thank you so much. That would be great. This is Councilmember Rauch. Let's see, Mr. Moran, do you have the PowerPoint slides that you could pull up for the presentation?
So I do have the PowerPoint, but it was just mentioned that Cam had a few notes as well. I'm not sure. I made him a co-host, but I can share it as well.
Whichever works best for you. I also have some notes here and that I can speak off of too. So either way works for me.
Okay. Let me go ahead and share mine then.
Okay. Great. So thank you everyone for having us, Mayor Tremino and the rest of the council. We're really excited to talk about some of the results that we got from the survey. And so just generally, just to give you kind of an introduction to exactly what the survey was about, we conducted a survey on how Brentwood residents think about climate change, different policies to improve the environment, and individual roles in climate change mitigation. And so just wanted to go through some of the lessons that we learned from these results and give you kind of a summary highlight of the results and some of our recommendations moving forward at the end of the presentation. And we're happy to take questions afterwards as well. So just to start, I wanted to kind of give you an idea of kind of the methods that we used for this and the overall structure of the survey. So we conducted the survey between Friday, October 18th and Monday, October 21st. We had 5 groups of door knockers. As Professor Pearson-Markowitz mentioned, we interacted with the students that were enrolled in her Policy 306 course in the fall of 2024. And so they were very helpful knocking on doors to get responses. And so we had 5 groups spread throughout each of those days to try to get to all of the households in the town. And then, as Professor Pearson-Markowitz mentioned, also surveyed apartment residents. The survey was open for them until the end of November, just because they were notified a bit later about the survey. And so they were able to take that using a scannable QR code. And so in total, we had about 130 households that responded to the survey. We did have very few apartment responses in general, but just wanted to kind of highlight some of our main results moving forward. So the first result that we'd like to talk about here is exactly what Brentwood residents are most concerned about regarding climate change. And so you can see here in this figure that there were a range of options that they could choose from in terms of what they were most concerned about. And we see here that hotter temperatures, increased flooding and extreme storms, and the amount of trash going into landfills were the most concerning for residents, which makes sense kind of geographically and just in terms of the impacts of climate change. With some of the climate change impacts like more wildfires being a little bit less important or concerning just because of the geographic area that Brentwood is in. Next slide, please. So we also kind of, from the main concerns, we wanted to know exactly what Brentwood residents would support in terms of government plans or programs or policies moving forward. And so some of these highlights were preparing for extreme weather events, creating more jobs that also help the environment, and helping households get clean energy. And so these are just important highlights in terms of what information residents would be interested in learning more about in terms of how their actions can reduce these impacts, but also just about knowledge about how households can actually access clean energy and how clean energy can actually with some policy support, reduce utility bills in the long run. And so another kind of area that we really focused on was the adoption of EVs, or the adoption of hybrid vehicles. And we just wanted to pull out a few interesting findings from the survey themselves. So you can see in the dark blue bars here, these were respondents that currently own all electric vehicles. The orange bar here represents people who currently own hybrid electric vehicles. The green bar is people who don't own either of those, but have thought about purchasing either of these vehicles. And the light blue bar represents people who have not thought about purchasing an EV moving forward, with the purple bar being people who don't own an EV or a vehicle in general, because they usually walk, bike, or use public transit for their transport. And so just some interesting highlights here. Sorry, previous slide really quickly. Just some interesting highlights here that white respondents and higher income respondents own more EVs and hybrid vehicles than those of non-white and lower income. And in general, we noticed that Hispanic residents have thought the least about purchasing an EV. And so there seems to be some demographic group barriers, but also some income barriers in terms of EV adoption and hybrid vehicle adoption moving forward. So what we wanted to focus on here, we asked for both those that currently own EVs or hybrid vehicles, but also those who do not currently own EVs or hybrid vehicles. This is just showing results from those that do not. We wanted to see what would influence their purchasing decisions for vehicles moving forward. And so what we saw was that travel distance on an EV battery, accessibility to public EV chargers, and the overall cost of EVs and the chargers for them do influence car purchasing decisions for Brentwood residents. And so this just kind of points to the idea of, expanding knowledge about electric vehicles, exactly how far they can travel on a charged battery, where public EV chargers may be available or accessible within the Brentwood area, but also about just the general cost of EVs and what some subsidies for EVs and chargers might be helpful in terms of higher adoption rates moving forward. It's interesting to note that the cost of vehicle and the cost of personal EV chargers, as well as cost of vehicle maintenance, mattered much more to people who don't own an EV than those who already purchased one. And furthermore, for far more people who were influenced by the price of the vehicle than the price of gas or environmental impacts of adopting EVs. For those respondents, information about tax credits, we had a separate question about whether the knowledge about or actually having access to tax credits would influence their decision. This would increase their probability of purchasing electric vehicles. So it seemed like cost was a major barrier for them in terms of EV adoption. Moving forward here, we did kind of want to highlight exactly what tax credits or what federal or state level incentives residents were knowledgeable about, but also just kind of wanted to test whether if they were given options that might seem plausible from a federal or state level, whether they thought that those actually did exist, even if they currently didn't. And so what we see from these results are that most Brentwood residents do not know about any federal or state incentives for electric vehicles. So information access is also a major barrier in terms of EV adoption moving forward for Brentwood. But that in general, the most well-known incentives were those that were offered as the federal and the state level tax credits. But as I just mentioned, many residents thought that programs that don't actually exist at the federal or state level did. And so this just kind of points to the need of kind of more information and more knowledge around what the subsidies and incentives might be for adopting EV vehicles in the future. And so the next kind of area that we wanted to highlight in terms of results, the town was really interested in knowing, for those that do garden at home, what was kind of the mix of plants that they used, and kind of what the knowledge was about the benefits of using mostly native plants. And so just from this result, we can see that most Brentwood residents plant with mostly or all native plants or a mix of native and non-native plants. So that kind of gives us an idea of what types of plants Brentwood residents are actually using when they garden. And then next slide, please. And then even furthermore, in terms of the knowledge about what these benefits or really just the knowledge about the benefits of gardening with native plants are, we see that about half of Brentwood residents say that they know nothing or very little about gardening with native plants. This is interesting because 75% of respondents indicated that they would like to learn more about gardening with native plants. And so this kind of points to the need to kind of increase information about gardening benefits of the use of native plants moving forward. We also wanted to just kind of get general knowledge about what Brentwood residents know about climate change in general and kind of where they stand in terms of climate change knowledge. And so we can see here that most Brentwood residents know some, but not a lot about climate change. It was actually pretty nice seeing that there was a small percentage of respondents that know nothing at all about climate change, but that in general, kind of knowledge about climate change and information access might be a barrier moving forward in terms of what climate change impacts actually are and what some personal contributions are for climate mitigation or towards kind of these effects of climate change in general. And so here we kind of focused directly on individual contributions and actions at the household level and whether they contribute to climate change or not. And so based on these results, just generally, we do see that most Brentwood residents believe that their household actions contribute a moderate amount or only a little bit to climate change. And so increasing knowledge about how household actions can actually lead to climate mitigation, but also just lead to impacts on climate change in general might be a little bit missed within the residential composition of Brentwood. And so this also kind of points to the need for more information access and more education about personal actions and household level actions and their contributions to climate change impacts and effects. And so then moving forward here now too, we ran kind of a test within the survey about how we should really frame the benefits of climate-friendly actions and what they really do in terms of impacts moving forward. And so half the respondents were given questions that say, do you support climate-friendly actions for the benefit of public health? Versus do you support climate-friendly actions for the benefit of next generation and next generations in the future planet? And so although both of these were persuasive in terms of motivation for adopting climate-friendly actions, it seems like framing these actions towards the benefits to children and future generations may be something that motivates the adoption of these actions by Brentwood residents. But I think it's also important that as a secondary highlight, the benefits towards public health are also highlighted, but that maybe the first framing should be leaning more towards benefits towards next generation and the future of the planet. And so here's kind of a summary of what our key recommendations and findings are. The first kind of main recommendation, but also finding that we have is that there's a need to spread more information about these kind of tax incentives and these tax breaks or other incentives for purchasing electric vehicles primarily, but also for other climate-friendly utilities. And so this, more information about these, more information about kind of policy support moving forward for the adoption of these may actually increase adoption in the future. And so this is one of our kind of main findings, but also recommendations moving forward is that there's a big need, it seems like, to spread more information about these tax breaks, about these tax credits and incentives, particularly for purchasing electric vehicles, but also other climate-friendly technologies. The second main recommendation and finding that we have is that kind of going back to the test question that we developed within the survey, which is how should we kind of frame these climate-friendly actions in terms of benefits? It may be that framing these benefits in a way that goes more towards the benefit of children and future generations may motivate greater adoption of these actions, as well as a secondary benefit of public health. And so this it's just an interesting way of, how do we actually frame these benefits moving forward, and what should we really focus on as the main benefits in the future. The third main kind of key recommendation or finding that we have is that there's definitely a need to provide residents with information about how to garden with native plants and why to do so. And there's great interest of that among respondents. And so, people are really interested in gardening with native plants. A lot of people might already, but the general idea here is that still even more information about the benefits of gardening with native plants and why to even do so may be helpful in terms of adopting larger gardening rates with native plants in the future. The fourth kind of recommendation or major key finding that we have is that there's definitely some promise in investing to help residents see their individual role in climate change. So we saw from the question about explicit household actions and their contributions to climate change, we saw that not a lot of respondents thought that their household actions did contribute to climate change. And so just being able to show them what their actions actually do in terms of contributions to climate change, but also in terms of contributions to climate change mitigation, may be a helpful way forward in terms of actually getting some more individual buy-in and into these climate-friendly actions moving forward. The fifth kind of main finding or key recommendation that we wanted to highlight is helping residents find job training green jobs. This was a main highlight that we saw from respondents in terms of what they thought was important, that that training for green jobs would be an important program in support that the government and the town could kind of work with moving forward. And there are a few ways that the town of Brentwood could do this, possibly through partnering with the Department of Labor, Licensing and Regulation. And this might just help kind of improve climate-friendly actions and improve the town's contribution to climate mitigation, because those who work in green jobs may be more likely to live in an environmentally friendly way and might be a little bit more environmentally cautious even outside of the workplace. And so being able to translate that into individual and household level actions could be an important way to kind of promote individual and household level actions moving forward. Again, also, there's a need to provide more information about environmentally friendly household technologies, as well as more education needed regarding the benefits of gardening plants, like with native plants, like I mentioned. And households also think that having access to energy from cleaner resources is important. And so there seems to be a little bit of an information gap on how they can access electricity from renewable sources. And so providing more of this information to fill that gap may be helpful moving forward.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Shauna and Cam, thank you so much for the efforts you guys put forth in this past year, to the students who went door knocking, to the summary of these results that, we were pressed to get into the climate action plan and we got them in. So that's wonderful. This is really going to help the town decide where, special funding could be put towards educating and connecting residents and business owners to resources. I know that Cam, you also worked on this project because you had participated in the statewide climate action plan at the Maryland level, and you wanted to see the connection of whether, the state's climate action plan is reaching people on the, in the towns and areas in the state. And so this is a really insightful, survey that was conducted, and it can contribute to some of the state actions, and great presentation. I know that we've all, as a team, we've had some bumps this past year working, like our own personal lives. And I just thank you both from the bottom of my heart for all of your hard work on this. And it's really going to help the town moving forward. So thank you so much.
I just wanted to say really quick, thank you guys for letting us partner. It was a really good opportunity for my students to learn to research in the field and understand how to give back to government, not be the ones saying like, hey, we want to research you, but hey, can we research what you need? So I just wanted to say thanks for reaching out and for, letting us kind of do this in a way that also allowed students to learn how to do engaged research. So I do hope it's helpful. That's the biggest thing for me, is I'm hopeful that, that all of the results actually can help inform some stuff.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all the work. As Councilmember Rauch said, this is, hard work. A lot of people have their own, time, but you were dedicated to complete it. And I met a lot of the students when they were door knocking, walking around town. So it was great to see them all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
And I don't know if anybody has any quick questions. Didn't mean to cut them off, Mayor, but if there's anybody with quick questions or comments, might we open and entertain that briefly?
Anyone?
I just wanted to thank Shauna and Cam for all their hard work. It was a huge undertaking, and you guys were so gracious with following up with people and taking the time to answer all their questions. So really just genuinely thank you.
Ditto here. No questions. Just really appreciate all the hard work you did, and as well as the students walking around the town. It was great.
Well, I'll just say, if there are any questions that come up later, we're happy to answer them. So I can put my email in the chat, or I think Cam's email may be on the presentation. But we're always happy to answer any questions. And if there are future ways that we can help by trying to collect public opinion in Brentwood, please do reach out. It was a really exciting opportunity for us. This is why I got into what I do, is actually to improve the amount of information we have from constituents in making our decisions, and it can be really hard to get, but it's always fun to actually do it. So if anything comes up later, please let me know, but also please reach out if there's more ways this could help.
Excellent. Thank you. Right, after that presentation, I will move to the agenda items, and this time is for the town administrator to give us an update on the 38 place request for proposal. And
I know I sound like a broken record here, but Jason is on the call. I did speak with Jason in regards to this today, and there were a few items. There was a couple more items they needed to clear up, which they were able to hash out. And so we're waiting to receive the contract. Jason, do you want to speak on the contract for the sidewalk with KCI?
Yes, good evening. Excuse my wife says I look better than I usually do anyway. So yeah, the KCI contract, the attorney, after I told him to finalize it and sign it and send it to us, he came back with a couple more questions. They were relevant questions regarding the notice period for our ability to terminate for convenience. They wanted a little extra time for notice of that, which I thought was reasonable. And then he had an insurance question that I cleared up with him. He then said he would rotate the final version to his client and then get that to us. So we should have it maybe tomorrow, and it'll be ready for signature.
thank you, Jason. All right. So that's the update. Anything else, Shelley? For a good.
Nope, that's it in regards to 38th place sidewalk.
Thank you. So I'm going to move to the next item in the agenda, which is the election judges stipends. And
So
do you have?
there we go. Do you want me to speak on
Hard
this,
to
Mayor,
see.
or are you gonna speak on it?
No, go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay. So currently, the fees for the judges or election judges, 125. The chief election judge is 150, and the hourly rate is $50. And we're proposing an increase to those fees to raise the election judge from the 125 to 225, which is a $100 increase. The chief election judge raised it from $150 to $275, which is $125 increase. And the hourly rate increased from $15 to $17.50, which is a $2.50 increase, which is a little more than the living wage in the county.
All right. Well, I guess at this point we're looking for consensus. Is that what we doing to increase those stipends?
Mayor, I had a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
Thank you for providing this, Shelley. I see that we have the hourly rate. Do we have a ballpark of roughly what the election judges and chief judge will be paid out at the new rates?
So I will say in the past, we've paid out just for their election services, not anything additional. It's about $400, a little less. So this isn't significant, what we're talking about. We're literally talking hundreds of, just like a few $100s.
So at the new rate, we're still looking at less than like $1,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I just have a question. Just to make sure I understand, is there a mechanism for them to exceed, historic numbers, right? Do they have to come to you, Shelley, in that instance and say, hey, we're probably gonna go over hours because of XYZ reason? How does that normally work? You just come back to us and just let us know that it happened to be an increase? Or do we even need to worry about that? No.
I don't think it's anything for you to worry about. They receive this flat fee, and then for any additional hours that are worked, that's where the hourly rate comes in. And so that actually varies. So the flat fee, we know we're going to pay that out. The hourly rate, that can vary. That, I've seen it as low as 10 hours. I think the most I've ever seen was 16 hours.
Great, thank you. That answered my question. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, I know you were looking for a consensus with this. I support this. I'm okay with this.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we can still bring it in a regular meeting if that's okay. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because as you see that we already have a new group that I will be meeting, or they already start meeting for this election.
And I'm in support as well. I was just trying to make sure that we're budgeting enough just in case they go over, but it sounds like we don't have to worry about that. So I'm in support.
I'm in
Right.
support.
And if it helps with the decision, I can go back and just based off of hours from the prior year, or even do an average and just kind of come back and just give you something to compare it to if it helps.
I guess I'm the only one who hasn't concurred. I do, with the comment that I actually think the numbers are still a little too low for the importance of the work.
Sure. I agree, but based on our budget, I think we can cover this extra cost. So if everybody in favor, so I appreciate that. So we have nothing else to do, but we have a consensus so Shelley can start working with those numbers. All right, so thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to move to the fiscal year 2026 and the Town of Brentwood budget workshop dates. I know we are trying to get the nitty-gritty about this budget, and I want to hear what the council's available times are to work on the budget.
So I am probably, well, I don't want to say probably, but because I work in municipal governance, I also, we're doing budgets in the municipality where I work. I'm open to hearing what dates other people are available, and I can advise if I'm available to meet or not.
Yeah. I would like to suggest that if we can do, since we have a regular meeting next week, if we can at least work 1 hour from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. dedicated to the budget. That was one of my suggestions.
Mayor or Shelley, since I haven't done budget with you for a few years, does anybody remember last year the length, how many sessions it took?
It wasn't that long because the council did provide feedback to the treasurer ahead of time, so they put their wish list and their want list together, and it was sent prior. So when the numbers were kind of like where we wanted to be, and it was I would say that it was a smooth process and less council meeting. I think we have 3 meetings?
3. Okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
Yes.
Okay.
No more than 4 for sure. It was a really good process.
Okay.
So you have the budget in your hands, so you can start looking at it and see, if you see a big change that you would like to see, and the one that I propose. So yes, we're still open, to discuss every single line item, but if you can submit to Shelley, what we would like to see, or like Councilmember Rauch said, that we're looking monies to provide more education about this climate change issue. So which I'm in favor of. So maybe you can start by doing that.
So are we all in agreement that next week we're going to come in at 6?
That could work for me personally. And then Councilmember Burgess said if we could do Tuesdays if possible.
Tuesdays work for me.
Tuesday is fine. Yes.
Yes, concur. Next Tuesday, I can make 6 o'clock.
Excellent. And the following Tuesday, the 25th?
I cannot, I will be out of town that Tuesday.
That Tuesday. Okay.
April 1st is a regular meeting date. Do we want to do 6 o'clock on that day as well?
That would work for me.
April 1st, yes.
But
That's
nobody
fine
makes
with
it. Nobody make any jokes about budget and April Fool's Day, because
Listen, let me tell you, politically ain't nothing funny, so nobody better have any April Fool's jokes anyway. Period.
Oh gosh, that's right. Yeah, no surprise jokes.
All right. Well, at least we have 2 more dates, which are fine. I wish we all be present on the 25th. So, but we should all be working on this budget. So the March 18 and April 1st are already set for 6 p.m. Is that correct?
That's what I heard. Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. Perfect. It's so Mr. Moran can get those dates, and he knows that we're gonna do work sessions about the budget.
Well, there'll be digital pizza this time.
All right.
Mayor, quick question for the treasurer, if I may.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
You sent us the budget in advance, the proposed budget. Thank you. If we want to provide any suggestions or edits or changes or enhancements or reductions, when to be able to talk about them on the 18th, when would you want those by? Or is that something we just bring to the meeting on the 18th to talk about?
You can, especially if you have some additions, I can go back and look and see if I can start building those things in, because that's the piece that cutting the budget is easy, but trying to maybe build something into the budget sometimes can take a little more time. So if you can send your items with me, I will work my magic on the budget and I will highlight those items. So any changes that are made to the budget from what the mayor submitted will be highlighted in our first meeting.
And when would
So
you like those by for our 18th meeting?
Yes, so if you can get those to me as soon as possible.
Is that a Monday, a Sunday, a Saturday, a Friday?
Well, let's see. The day is the 11th.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, can you get it to me tomorrow? If you can get it to me by close of business Friday,
Okay.
I can work with it.
All right, thank
And
you.
what are your business hours on Friday? Is 10 p.m. okay?
Yes. 10 p.m., midnight, it doesn't matter.
I'm going to
Yeah.
send you therapy if you're working at midnight.
I'm not. I'm not, and I'm not sleeping there.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for that input, and we will work on this the next meeting at 6 p.m. So I will move to the next item in the agenda, which is the Town of Brentwood rent stabilization. I think this was brought to us by one of our residents too. They have some concerns, but Councilman Burgess, you were.
Sorry,
The
no,
one-
it's not me though. I do remember at least one other council member putting it on the agenda, but it's not my item.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, Mayor.
Councilmember Rao. Yeah.
Yes, it was my item simply
Mhm.
because of the resident who attended our meeting and was talking about the concerns and the issues. And I was hoping that maybe we could have a discussion around some of the historical information about rent stabilization. And I'm looking at Councilmember Monroe simply because he's on screen, but also because he has some knowledge and experience in this area or subject matter as it pertains to the county and to the municipalities. But it might be that, I'm not bringing any information because I'm not wise about it as much as I could be for this meeting. So it might be that we're not able to discuss it at this time, but I just thought it would be good to try to start discussing it if a resident is bringing concerns.
Thank you, Councilmember Rao. Councilmember Monroe.
Yeah, and probably the question I always have is like, what is the ask of the town, right? And so is the ask that we explore legislation, for example, or is the ask to go to our counterparts at the county level and advocate for whatever that might be, whatever the spectrum of solutions we will want. So I think that's the first thing. Because we're sort of limited. We can look to what other municipalities are doing, for example, in Hyattsville, because I know with them, and we have Councilmember Taylor on the call, maybe more familiar with this, but I understand that they, essentially we're looking at keeping rent controlled based on the consumer price index, for example. But it's also a contentious topic because the cost of everything has gone up for everybody. So there are rising costs both for running buildings and also for renters. So I think we just have to, if we get into the discussion is okay, I think we just have to be clear about what we're trying to discuss, whether it's a advocacy we're in support of or against a thing, or is it that we're trying to pass whatever we can control here at the municipal level. I will say one thing we can do, which was talked about some years back when we were first Pathways for Unity under former Councilmember Charles. We had a work group talking about just housing affordability in general. And one topic that did come up is exploring a resolution. I think it was a resolution or ordinance. I can't remember which one is most appropriate that could have us get a better public list of what rent is in our town.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can look at the data, because we may be okay in the town sense about rent as far as affordability, because we do have naturally what they call naturally occurring affordable housing, or NOAA buildings, because it just, rent's pretty low compared to the county and other areas of a comparable population. So without the data, it's also hard for us to say if something is good, bad, or in between. And that may be a good starting point for us to start. It's just, how do we just get the data? And if I remember right, the resolution basically just says, like, when someone renews their rental license, they have to just tell the town what their rent is as a landlord. And that's just an easy way to do it. And every year you have a data point just like that. So that might be something we can explore as a starting point.
Thank you. It's definitely a topic of discussion, but my only question is, how many residents have been bringing this topic to our attention? Is one, two, or maybe this requires to do a different approach to go, or we wait for more concerned residents to talk about it? That's just my only thing. And I saw town administrator's hand up.
So I think the resident that attended the last meeting and spoke on this, I think there was a concern that landlords, they may not necessarily increase the rent, but they're tacking on fees. And that piece, I don't think has been addressed. And I do believe there's some legislation with the county currently. I'd have to go back and double check. But yeah, we can research it some more and see what, our role may be in this process.
Okay. So do you want to continue the conversation maybe in another time once we get more information? Or what is the wish of the council at this moment?
I do think that it is a worthwhile conversation to have. And I think in particular, when we see the number of people who are losing their employment, paying rent is going to become really tight for a lot of folks. And so I do think it's an important conversation to have. I also wanted to just note, if residents are concerned that their rent increases are above the legal limit, they can call 311 and the county will do some digging on their part and provide some solutions and some resources.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Can we, as Marcus said about data, can we have someone compile the data from the rental license renewals that we have done in the past, say, year or two? To at least just have some kind of baseline to start with? I have no idea what like a mean, median, or standard deviation of rental costs would be in Brentwood.
I can certainly look to see what I can come up with.
Yeah, and that's a good point. It's a good starting point, just to see, because we have both homes and apartment buildings, so we have a mix in our town of small mom and pop, and also what people consider like big landlords. So,
I mean, it seems like, we could probably spend a lot of time on this issue, but if for example, we get data back that shows that we are above some regional norm, then I think at the very least we could, contact our county officials and advocate on behalf of residents. That seems like an easy lift if the data would support that. Maybe not for rent control, I'm not saying that, but just to raising awareness.
Yeah, and what we are looking for, so we won't maybe give clear direction to staff on what we're trying to compare it to. We could just use HUD's fair market rental rates for our area, and that's usually just the go-to resource. Because like Section 8, for example, they just use a fair market rate through HUD, but that tends to set the trend for a lot of what's considered fair market rates. And we can start there. So 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, that, et cetera.
Got it.
Shelley, just curious, is that something you ponied yourselves up for that among the many other things you're doing? Is that something that like code also helps with since it's licensing? I'm just not sure.
So I don't know that they would necessarily pull together this type of data.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we just got to be realistic about how much you can actually do. So I don't think we need to have this on the hot list until maybe after the budget's done. That's just my thoughts, just mine.
I agree with Councilman Burgess. However, we may want to consider amending the applications that we use for rental renewals so that we can track that, because I don't think historically we've tracked that information. And that may be something worthwhile to ask Jason, like what would be the cleanest legal approach to get that information if we want people to be able to opt in or if they have to tell us. But it definitely could be something worthwhile so that we can go and we can even look at individual properties over time to see how the rates have differed, if they've differed.
Jason, are you there?
Oh, you want me to answer that in open session? Okay. Not
if you think it'll be a problem.
Okay. We should probably talk about that in our closed session.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor, just for reference, I did put some links in the chat for the public and for the council from the county's Permanent Rent Stabilization Act, CB 55, that went through towards the end of 2024, as well as their PowerPoint presentation from the 2 listening sessions that they had in January, which should route you back to the county's website as well for some resources and information on what they're limited to under the new Stabilization Act.
I saw that. Thank you. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody entertaining the topic and having discussion. Thank you.
All right. So I will move to the next item in the agenda, which is the Brentwood Police Department, the repairs, and we've been back and forth with this. Chief, you said that we did approve the repairs and the purchasing.
So in our February meeting, we discussed purchasing the vehicle. Well, moving forward with the vehicle from the town of Morningside with a purchase rate of $2,000. Councilmember Burgess asked for more detailed information in writing. February 14th, I sent a summary and fiscal note to the council for the February 18th meeting for this and the other items on the consent agenda. So the summary just basically said that a comprehensive certified multi-point inspection was completed on the vehicle and that Morningside was selling it to us for $2,000. And then a fiscal summary was given on page 2, the cost for the vehicle. The resulting maintenance from the inspection, the NVA tag and title fees, and then the cost of that actual inspection, which came out to $3,984.90 for the total purchase expenses, including the car. And then it was just a breakdown on the revenues that were generated from the auction for the 2 sold cars. I think Ms. Dorsey Washington put this back on the agenda because the video only discusses the $2,000 for the used car, not the maintenance cost, even though this was sent out for consent agenda on Friday.
Yeah,
So,
that's correct. Thanks, Chief.
okay. So, how much do we need to approve if we were only consent 2,000 for the purchasing?
So, Mayor, I'm asking tonight if we can get approval for $1,854.09 for the repairs to get the vehicle up and running. And, you know, again, we brought in money from the auctions to cover the cost.
Okay. So, well, at this point, I will ask for consensus to approve that amount.
Shelley, can you give that amount one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. It's $1,854.09.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I guess that will be determined, line item determined by.
Yes, it'll just be vehicle maintenance for the police department.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Can I get a consensus to approve this funding?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone else?
Councilman Burgess just sent me a
Yes.
text message. He lost the internet, so he'll be joining in a few moments.
Okay. I say yes to for the record.
Yep, and for the record, I will say yes as well. And you know, there was misunderstanding about what went into the consent and what was in the memo, and I'm sorry I didn't look through the memo very thoroughly, so didn't know that we should have also called that out during our council meeting for consent. So I'm glad that you guys are working together and called that out for us. So I say yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. So I will move to the next item in the agenda, which is the Brentwood Volunteer Fire Department request. And I believe Councilman Burgess was the one who requested to add it into the agenda.
Mayor, can we come back to this one to give him time
Yes.
to get back logged onto the meeting?
Yes, definitely. So I will move to the Safe Street for All grants and the request for proposal. And this is an update. You see there, Councilmember Brown or Councilmember Monroe?
Yeah, this was me in conjunction with our town administrator.
Okay.
So I'm gonna defer to her. I'll defer to our town administrator first, and then I'll chime in as necessary.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Oh, you muted, Shelley.
Shelley?
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes.
now? Okay. I can't recall if we had already distributed a draft version of the RFP. However, we did have a phone call with the Department of Transportation, and there was a recommendation for us. Hello?
Okay. I'm sorry, that was me.
So there was a recommendation that because of the amount of the award, that we actually not go through a formal bid process and you know, or spend time doing that. And so we did make a revision in the RFP where we would just seek 3 quotes. That was, I guess, the only major change. And then, of course, we had to ensure that we had no language in the RFP as it related to, going out and getting a formal bid. So that's the only real change in the RFP. And I believe that was shared.
I guess Mayor and Council, did you all see, and forgive me, I don't know if everyone did get it or not in the email from the clerk. Which email would have been included in?
Let's see. Oh, you know what? I can't get to my town administrator email from my laptop at home. Let's see if I can pull it from my phone. Ah. And you know what? I may be wrong. I may have only sent it to you, Councilmember Monroe, to review. I don't know. Did you provide any feedback on it?
No, that is on me. I didn't have any feedback, but you were waiting on me to say yes or no or anything. So I did not have any feedback. I guess for clarification sake to the council, we definitely use the Mount Rainier example of what they used in the RFP. So we're trying to mimic language that's already been successful by a neighbor. So what we can do is just make sure this gets out to you all after the meeting. But I imagine if we can all just simply consent to being on board with the idea that we simply just get the three quotes approach based on federal recommendation from our partners there, and also just the uncommon time we're in that we need to move quickly. So
and just for clarification, that email, it went to Councilmember Monroe and to the mayor. And so I'm going to resend it to everyone in the group. We're not looking for approval or anything tonight. We really just wanted to share with you that it has been drafted, and get your feedback if you have any feedback on it, so that, if we need to update it and make any changes, we can do that before we start soliciting contractors or a consultant, I should say, to help us with this project.
Consent.
Consent.
Consent. Yep. Thank you. All right, so I will move to the next item. It is the Vision Zero resolution.
So that's us again on this one. And we discussed this in a previous meeting, but essentially we were just trying to edit the language. And I hope, maybe I'll pause there and say, has everyone received the draft version of the resolution updates? And if not, we may need to talk it through. I don't know if it was emailed out to everybody, and I apologize.
Are you looking at me about that?
No, not you. No, this would be the town administrator and myself, or the town clerk. We would have discussed sending it out if we did. So I apologize if it's not on there.
I'm looking through my emails now and I don't see it.
Um,
And I know I provided some edits to try to update the resolution, and I sent them to you. And then did you guys work it out and get it to Attorney Deloach? And then was it at
You know
that
what?
place to share with all
I
of
was
us?
wrong, I think. I think you did send this out, Councilmember Monroe, on February 3rd, maybe? Proposed edits to the existing.
Oh, I see it. That's right. Here it is.
resolution?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, I guess what happened, we just didn't get to it last time. I think because it ended up not being on the agenda, if I remember correctly. So I think we had a packed agenda, so we just didn't get to it. But nothing's changed from that draft that went around. It has gone through legal review, and thank you, Councilmember Rauch, as well. And again, the goal was to change the language so it was essentially the task force wasn't bound by the essential thing was the task force wasn't bound by the Public Works Committee anymore. Basically, we established a group of people to come together more quickly versus it having to go through the Public Works Committee. So that was a key shift in the document. And so essentially the same thing, we're just looking for consensus, and then that way we can move forward with approving this at the next council meeting. And I would be remiss to say that they, because I was just pulling the communication up with them, our town resident that initially helped on this with Councilmember Rauch and I, Kenny Megan, he's interested in serving on the task force, for example. Ideally we would have some of our committee members from various committees participate as well, but I definitely have a big yes from the person that helped us on this effort, and he's looking to support.
I'm in support, Councilmember Morrow.
Consent.
You're gonna box consent. We're just gonna consent the whole thing. Thank you for that. All right, so let me move to the next item. This is Bartlett Park redesign, and Councilmember Rauch, I know you've been working on this one.
Yes, thank you. What I am asking for you all, so we are set to hold the charrette on April 12th in the afternoon, and I put it on everybody's calendars, and you're locked in. You better be there or else. No, just kidding. Or kind of. But what I would like is we need to think about who we're going to send the invitation wide to the town, but I need you guys to really tap into your contacts in the town, because we really want everybody who cares about Bartlett Park to come out and express what they want to see in the park, whether it's zebras, or they want to see a swimming pool, or they want to see a permanent professional soccer field, or they want to see, storm drains because it floods, or they want to see whatever. We want to get people out. And so I don't have all the contacts. The mayor, you have good contacts directly to certain community areas of folks. Councilman Monroe, vice mayor, town administrator, police chief, everybody's got their own contacts. So if you want to provide me a list of people and you'd like us to do the outreach, happy to do it. But otherwise, really, need you guys to do the effort, please, to take the flyer that town clerk had, Mr. Moran, I think will send out, if he has not already sent it out by itself, not just in the news you can use and the lamplighter, but for you to circulate to folks. We will also have a sign in and when I say we, I think the town has to create this stuff. So I'm looking at you, Ms. Dorsey Washington, Town Administrator and Public Works person. We will also want to have some kind of signage in the park. So the day of, people are invited to come in. If it's a nice day and people are out playing basketball, we want them to come in and participate as well and provide their input on what they want in the park. And we'll also be doing some messaging in the lamplighter and, news you can use so my call, it's a call of action. So would you guys want to send me your contact list, or can you just commit by saying, yes, I will forward this information? And if there are certain people that you want personally invited via email by the town, we can do that. Stakeholders are invited, if they have interest in the park. It's always nice to send a one-on-one email address, like Mayor, for instance. We're going to send an direct email to Miss Ruby from Eco Latinos, since she is interested in creating a rain garden in the park. So we'll do a direct email invitation to her and some other folks, but
sounds great. Yes. That's good.
I just want to say I dropped in the chat. I'm in support of the zebras.
So,
Right.
Well, you better show up on the 12th and make that known.
Can we have elephants too?
We can have whatever you want to put on the 12th and then see if it becomes a reality.
We need to have the kids input.
Yeah, so outreach to families in Brentwood that have children. Anybody knows any families that have children, please send them the information to come out, and the kids are invited.
We can extend the invite to the PTO so that maybe we can get some families to come and join on that day. Excellent. Sounds like a plan. Sounds great.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'll move to the next item in the agenda, which is the Town of Brentwood Lamplighter advertisement. I know we've been talking about this for years. So, Councilmember Rauch.
Yes, so that was also a topic I put on the agenda. Would like to talk to the town administrator and council about what can we do to be able to support our local businesses, to put information in the Lamplighter. I know that Mixed Food Hall has requested advertising space often, and we haven't, we don't have a set guideline for what we do in that area. So
I think it
is it
was
time? Let's make some money.
It was time. I think we had some kind of draft back in the days about the prices. If it was $50 for one page or half page, but then the only thing that we never worked was like if this is gonna be on a monthly basis or it's gonna be like sometimes like December and January it's only one newsletter. So how are we gonna split the amount? So I guess what we need to do is putting together that fees list. So, and I don't know what will be the appropriate charge, but long time ago we discussed about $50, $75, depending on what size of ad. But I mean, not sure if that's enough for the amount of newsletters that we sent out. So we need to figure it out, the amount. Or how do we go with those fees?
So I
might be able to dig something up from the old days if nobody else has, because I do remember. I think Olano was kind of yeah, put some stuff together. But I think I think I might be wrong, but I think it probably needs to be a little more robust than that. Like, how do you judge priority? There's simple ways to do it, complex ways to do it. I'm a little worried about. Not worried, but I think it might be good to have some decision on percents of advertising versus town news. Like the current Lamplighter reads to me more like a Sunday advertising circular. There's a lot of advertisement per town news in there, and I that might not be a problem for most people, but I do think we need to address it. I gave you no solution. Just more problems. Perhaps this is something where a tiny subcommittee puts a little draft together and then brings it back to the council.
Or brings it to the town administrator. I think the Lamplighters are really driven by the town, and the council's kind of just puts forward ideas for it, right?
I think we would have to vote to set at least the initial price. However, I also think we should maybe consider like what we're willing to allow as an acceptable ad. Like, we may not want people to do political ads. We may not want people to advertise businesses that we don't, that we may have objection to. So I mean, very much like Councilman Burgess, I think I probably have more questions than answers.
Yeah, because then it comes the churches and the events and how you want to classify them, and then yeah, it's a big. I mean, it's not just mix; it's other stores and body shops and things. So how do we going to go by with that? I don't know.
All right, there must be other towns, not just in Maryland, but in the U.S. that have done this before. So maybe somebody
Well, I can
needs to
say
do
I
some due
can
diligence.
I can ask some of the mayors around and see if they doing any of that. That I can. Since
We can post it on MML. I mean, that's an easy way to ask towns, hey, share your newsletter advertisement policies so we can look at best practices and see what would work for us.
That's a great idea. All right, so I guess this is coming back to the agenda because we're not gonna find a solution tonight.
Right. But action items, are we piling this one on the TA as well to put the ad in to get the information?
Yes, but I think I can get some assistance on this one.
Town clerk, I would think it will help, but I know he's yes, he's getting election and notices out, but yeah, maybe it's time to call MML, like Councilmember Brock said.
And maybe, I don't know what your vision is, and this is totally off topic, but for this, it's not totally off topic, but for the Citizens Advisory Committee, but is that something they might have interest in?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yes. Sounds good. All right, that is coming back again once we get some more information. Thank you so much for that. All right, so I will have Larry on this Town of Brentwood 2025 municipal election. Larry, updates.
There's one more item before that. It was the Cultural Arts Program liquor license request.
Oh, see, I didn't see that one. Go, sorry, Cultural Arts Program liquor license, Town Administrator.
Yes. So 2 of the events on the schedule, we'd like to be able to have a beer and light wine license, not liquor. And that is the Paint and Sip event. We'd like to have mimosas for that event. And then for our Jazz Music Fest, we'd like to be able to have or offer, I should say, beer and light wine. So the permit is $75 per day. And with your approval, I'd like to apply for those 2 events.
Does municipality pay for that? I don't think the municipalities pay.
No, they pay.
It's just a matter of getting consensus of applying for the liquor license.
Yeah. From what I've read, we still pay. We just have to make sure that our police department chief, are you still online? is aware of the event.
I don't think she will have any problem.
We've done this before for events. When we had the summer concert series, we had a wine vendor. And I know when Council Member Tar was on, we did like a wine something in the park. So I'm okay with this personally.
I'm fine. Anyone else?
Just me. I'm going to be perhaps the lone protester on here. So it probably can't go to consent. And let's see, how can I say this? I think on some deep principle, have a hard time with government-sanctioned distribution of alcohol in whatever form it might be. I realize we're just giving a license to a vendor, but it's sanctioning that, and so I have a little bit of a hard time with it. I'm not going to create a problem here. I'm just not going to vote yes on it.
And I think that was the same stand you have before.
That's right. Yeah, back in the tar days,
Back in
I
the
did the
tar
same thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
And-
it was the conflict about having kids at the park and the non-alcohol
Right.
or free drugs thing. So yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. But I know I know what the trend is. So again, I'm just going to lodge my simple protest and then just sit back and let things go forward.
And I'm willing to amend my request to just being able to have, I'm saying beer and light wine, but because that's what the license is, but just to be able to maybe do the mimosas or the paint and sip, which is actually going to be held indoors. And it will only be adults. Which is champagne and orange juice.
If you're looking for me,
same stance.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, because
Okay.
yes, and I could probably wax poetic on it for a long time. I just don't see why it's necessary for any government event. Period. But if we want to have some kind of vote on it or something like that to make sure that you get the license in time, special session, whatever needs to be, I understand that.
No. Councilmember Morrow.
I don't have any issue with, and I'm a legacy yes vote here from before, and I have not changed my mind that I think this one's okay. I mean, I definitely get the council members' concern, so I wouldn't ever want an event to get out of control. But I think within this sort of modest approach in my language here, I think it's okay. The one main comment I actually had was unrelated to this, is that it just hit me that we need to make sure that our county council members' office is made aware of the list of events that we're doing as a result of the project charges funding that is allocated, under her district. And so that would be a grave misstep if I were to go that length and say, if we did not do that, and make sure we share and thank and invite. I'm just going to leave it at that. And these uncommon times, you don't want to swat any nest unnecessarily.
Okay. So, and we haven't published the calendar of events yet. And so as soon as that's done, we'll start getting that distributed, and we'll definitely make sure county council rep gets that information. Or we can send it to you. Would you like to send it off?
No, we can send it.
No, ma'am.
Larry can
No, ma'am.
send it.
I'm recusing myself from any and all MNCPPC
Oh,
related
that's right.
activities.
Yeah.
Okay,
I am
gotcha.
simply, as a concerned citizen, doing what I can to make sure we are in good graces with our elected officials.
Well, I speak to Council Chair Ivy's chief of staff at least once a week, sometimes more. So I'm more than happy to finalize to send it to her. And also make sure that we get it over to Council Member Fisher as well.
May I suggest that that these come from the town administrator and or the police chief for any kind of events that the town is holding, and that council piggyback on them and send them as a, hey, hope you saw this. I think it would be good practice just for our town to have, the stakeholder list set there of district, MNCPPC people, congressional senators, just everybody for any town flyer or, even our monthly newsletter, just send it to them to be like, look at what we're doing. This is what's going on. Because they will make choices about taking any of that information and putting it in their own newsletters to promote, or showing up to something, or like, hey, they've been doing a lot of great work. We're going to throw some more money at them when we can. Or, I would just suggest that any visibility you can, any flyers, any information that comes out of the town that we automatically just have your stakeholder email list there and just forward it to them. And that way we're crossing T's and dotting I's, and then the council can like reinforce that, and you can certainly CC the council on those emails, and then we can follow up and be like, hey, we want to make sure you saw it. Don't forget to come, or whatever. But I think you guys should really be, leading on that with, whoever the mayor, whoever the mayor might be ever in the future. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I
Thank
agree
you.
completely, and I do get that. All right, so we kind of like a little bit of the topic, but we only have 2 consents about the applying for this liquor thing.
Consent
Consent, okay, thank
from
you.
the teetotaler.
Okay. All right, thank you so much. So I will move to the next item, which is the town clerk with the Town of Brentwood 2025 municipal elections. Updates, Mr. Moran.
So only updates I do have is I did meet finally with all the judges besides one. Ethics committee as well. Everyone's good to go now. Town Attorney Jason Loesch does have the contract for the election machines. I'm not sure if we can speak on that today.
Larry, can you repeat again?
He was talking about the Electech contract. It needs some work on it.
Okay.
So yeah, it definitely needs some work.
Okay, no worries. And then we are getting ready to ask for a mail-in ballots quote as well, and signs to promote the election, as they're supposed to be spread across the town. Should be in by this Friday. If you guys have any recommendations on where to post these signs, just to have more visibility, we have some in the park already at the little board by the restrooms. Then we have a few at the door when you come into town hall. And then we're working on putting some on 37th when you're coming from that trail. But if you guys have any other locations to suggest, just to help promote it this time around.
I think they usually put one around us or one on near Thomas Stone.
Okay.
That's where I seen those banners before.
Yeah, I saw Mount Rainier putting one up on Allison Street when it goes along the levee, at that garden center, the nature center. So yeah, we could definitely put one up on our side around there.
Yeah, and also will be beneficial to go back to the other side of the Rhode Island. To put one on Quincy or Perry and 37, somewhere around. There's a little corner there.
Do you think, where Mixed has that gate, that fence around their front garden area? Do you think they would let us put a banner up there that announced, because that's high traffic?
That's where I was going. We usually just do signs. I'm not sure if you guys think maybe buying 3 banners and spraying them across where we put the Brentwood Day banners would be ideal, just to get more eyes. Because of course you only see a yard sign if you're walking by it, not when you're driving. So if we can get that, I can work on something and have it at Mixed or right by the triangle on Rhode Island and 38th.
Yes, I guess you will have to bring prices for the next meeting. So
okay.
Let's talk about you know, that the deadline for the petitions that
Yeah, so the deadline is March 21st. We don't really have too many candidates around. I'm hoping it's not a hassle like it was for election judges and ethics committee members. So the more the merrier, I guess we can say, and that way we can really get this election rolling and get more residents involved.
Thank you. Any questions for in regards to the municipal election? Alright.
Yeah, just one comment by me. It might be worth a little bit of a Google. I think there are some statutes that govern signage for elections, and I'm not sure if anybody's looked at those lately, but maybe it's worth somebody taking a look. I'm mentioning that because I know in the past we have had residents point out that we may not have in the past followed all the signage for municipal election criteria. So, Larry, somebody maybe should just look into that. I will as well.
Councilman
Okay,
Burgess,
no worries. I'll do a bit more.
do you mean municipal signage or do you mean the signage that candidates are putting out as a part of electioneering?
No, not the candidates. No, the notice of municipality election. Yeah, and
Okay.
the only thing that I can remember in our charter is it needs to be, I think, like 2 weeks out or something like that. I'm just fuzzy on the details,
Okay.
but I think there's guidance out there.
Anyone else? Nope. All right. So I will move to the next item in the agenda. This is the, I think Shelley already mentioned this, to be added tonight for the town hall closure on Monday, March 25th and Tuesday, March 26th. Shelley, do you want to give an update on the moving?
You skipped the one, which was the police academy cadet.
I
How many
did it
candidates?
again. Oh my God. I need my glasses. This is just trying to get, okay, sorry. Police chief, can you please present your item?
Yes, good evening again. The police department requests to send a current employee assigned to code enforcement to Prince George's Municipal Police Academy, which begins Monday, April 21st, 2025, and lasts through Friday, October 24th, 2025, at Prince George's Community College. The employee expressed interest in becoming a law enforcement officer as a long-time goal. They've been an employee of the town for just over 5 years, and I fully support this endeavor of the employee, and I've actually seen effort over the last few weeks to get prepared for a physical agility test that is occurring on the 19th of this month. The cost of the academy for agency sponsored is $4,580. That will be in my budget ask for fiscal year 26. I've already listed it on my sheet. We'll just add it to our training budget. However, I will be applying to Legit's Memorial Law Enforcement Training Grant, which awards municipalities $5,000 for an eligible candidate to attend a police academy. And without divulging who the employee is, we do meet a lot of the benchmarks to get that grant based on race, sex, age, etc. So I'm pretty confident that it will not cost the town for the academy. I am requesting, though, however, that we leave the employee in the code enforcement position until the completion of the academy, and we come back to the table And the reason for that is because it's a tenured employee, and should anything happen in the academy, if anything is possible, I injured myself in the academy, so I know. I do not want that employee to be unemployed if we fill the current position. Looking at and speaking to our staff, everyone is okay with helping to pitch in and make sure that there are no shortfalls with the code enforcement division of the police department while we help this person get through the academy.
Open the floor for questions.
Mayor, can I speak? Hello?
Yes, yes.
So I actually think a closed session may have been needed for this. When we spoke earlier, I thought we were speaking of the Academy of Excellence. But that's not what this is. Hello?
Well,
I think the funding request is something that maybe should have been made publicly. I'm not opposed to that. But we can discuss the other part in closed session if needed.
Yeah, that's what I understood from the request for adding this item, that it doesn't need to go into the closed session, and it was more like open. So that's why I added into the agenda. But I would like to know what would be the next step.
The seat has been reserved in the academy, and it is cancelable if that's not a word, but we can cancel if we need to. But they are scheduled for the entry-level physical agility testing next Wednesday. So I would just need to know if the council supported this endeavor. So. And the reason it's before council is because we were advised that this really has not been done in Brentwood's history. So there's, skepticism and things like that. So.
Jason, is this something that we need to discuss in closed session?
It's sort of getting dangerously close. I don't know what the next line of information that we're going to get that may tip us into that. So we just need to be careful moving forward. If that makes sense. What has been said so far has been said, but moving forward, I don't know what kind of information is going to be provided to make that determination definitively. What subject matters are we going to be touching on without getting into specifics? Chief?
I've been vague on purpose.
Okay.
Because I knew we were in open session. I thought this was going to be a closed session, but there's some confusion on.
Well, let's move. Let's stop the discussion and go into closed session and discuss this in closed session.
All right.
Thank you. All right. So I will move to the last item in the agenda, which is the moving date and the town hall closure.
Yes. Finally. The day has arose, or it's finally here. We can move in. So we currently have our move-in scheduled for Monday, Tuesday, March 24th and 25th, respectively. And I'm seeking approval to be able to close the office during those 2 days. The first day, obviously, we'll be moving boxes and getting things relocated, and then we have to unpack once we get there, put things away. And I would imagine that'll probably take us into Tuesday. But then also on Tuesday, Peak will be on site to help us with all of our our IT connections, make sure everything is up and running. Xerox will be on site, making sure the copier machines are up and running. And Peak will also assist with making sure that we get our phones back up and online. And that's pretty much it. Another little tidbit of information. We did CV Security did come out today for the installation of our security. So that was a good thing.
Any
Great
questions?
news. Nope, exciting news.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Finally.
I support the closures.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for your hard work.
Thank you. And hopefully we in April we can conduct our meetings in person if everybody agrees. Okay.
So
All right.
yes, we can have meetings in person. We may not have our broadcasting up. Just
Oh.
FYI.
All right. Thank you, Shelley.
You're welcome.
All right. So I guess I just there's any public comments at this time?
Mayor, we had the one item that we postponed for Councilmember Burgess for the fire department.
Thank you for the reminder. Yes, indeed. Brentwood Volunteer Fire Department request. Councilmember Burgess?
Sure. Larry could put up the request if he wants, but I don't actually think it's necessary, at least for my purposes. I would just like, I'll give you my ask right away. My ask is that at our next meeting, we have an up or down vote on releasing the budgeted funds, which I think is $2,500 from the past 2 years, to the volunteer fire department. So that's my ask.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's lots of issues. I know there's been lots of discussion. But I'd just like to have an up or down vote on that.
I thought, Councilmember Burgess, that Councilmember Monroe, for budgets annually proposed that we support the volunteer fire department. And Councilmember Monroe, I don't know if you're on to say what you've done in the past.
Yeah, and so the issue is, without wanting to who or how, it's just that we were told that the requests from the volunteers needed to go to the county first, and then the county would cycle it to us, and that's how the funds would get released.
Mm-hmm.
What became apparent is that process, to me, that at least to my understanding, that process has never been triggered. So while there still appears to be a need that the volunteers are explaining, for whatever reason, there's no that process is not getting triggered. So I agree with the Councilmember Burgess that can we just simply just release it and then continue to work to figure out what's happening in that process to improve it. I'll note that, yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's probably just a bigger discussion about how we budget for it moving forward. I think I would like it to be more of a more seamless process, but it's just there's a lot of layers to this. So
All right, so I will add it to the next meeting agenda.
Thank you so much, Mayor.
No problem. All
And
right.
Mayor,
Yes.
just for a point of clarification, when we move forward with the approval, I know Councilmember Burgess mentioned releasing budgeted funds for the last couple of years. However, we didn't encumber the money. And so for this year's budget, there's only the 2,500 in there. And so we would have to, well, we're going to vote on it anyway, but it would be a line item transfer.
All right, so I will be open to discussion in the next meeting.
Thank you both.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right, great.
Thank you, Councilmember Burgess, for adding it to the agenda.
All right, so if there's no other comments, I would like to, any public comments, Larry? Anyone? Before we go adjourn to go into a closed session?
No, I haven't got any comments.
Okay, thank you. So I will need a motion to adjourn to go into closed session, and a closed session on the following statutory provisions to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction. Any other personal matters that affect one or more specific individuals. So I would say for the first part of the meeting, if we want to continue the conversation in regards to the police academy, I will add the chief only for the first part of the meeting, and then he can be dismissed to continue on.
All right, I make a motion to close the regular session here March 11th, and then go into closed session as narrated by the mayor.
And can you add who you would like to be in the closed session with you?
I can, though additions are welcome. Should I miscommunicate? All council members and mayor, the TA, and the police chief until the mayor dismisses him. And of course, the
attorney.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, as Mayor Taylor, and I will say, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Sorry. It's 9:08 p.m.
Recording stopped.